as a conspiracy circle, anybody that's hearing this, your arrogance far exceeds your capacity to have this information.
Repeat that. What about me? Why me? Why have you chosen me to come forward?
You would go to the death to protect your sources.
That's true.
You're a veteran, you're a warrior, and you took a constitutional oath. And I know you, right? And most of the people I've tried to contact, they don't take it seriously. Oh, and I've only tried a couple of times just as a, let's call it a test market. Oh yes, and I must say the only other reason that I was carted into those arenas, sales and marketing, global finance, manufacturing, venture capital, and how to do that. Everybody wants their packages out there to make money. They all want their portfolios and the IPOs to make money. When you get to the highest of those levels, and Rolls Royces and Bentleys and egos become so boring. And I saw the things that were happening, and I retired. Now they send people in, and they ask Madam X how to solve this and how to solve that, and I reject it. How can you live in abject poverty? I say I'm utilitarian, and I engage in the center of chaos in the Buddhist world. Not quite so much as the Dalai Lama, and I have issues with him. However, I have issues with all religion. Spirituality is quite different. But when it's easy for you, and you see people that hurt and have lived that way for any mistake that I have ever made in my arrogance in my youth, to pay that price so that I can know how to solve those problems for our people, which is extremely important to me, to solve those problems for our people. And abject poverty, 70% of the world lives that way. And it's a CME or X-class flare hit right now. We would be watching people run out of office buildings. And I believe that it would take about 2 weeks for them to deprogram. And then I believe that everybody with their food stores and their fear tactics who've never engaged or lived on the street or lived with these people or gotten their story count themselves special. Like the guy on the street, the guy that's got all of his food and this and that decides to cook some meat in a solar power oven, and the family, a father, smells it. And then the hypothalamus of the brain starts reacting, which is the most reptilian part of the brain. Will he kill? And how quickly will it take for cannibalism to happen? I believe very quickly. I believe that it will go off the chain, knowing demographics, knowing geopolitics, studying it, studying neuroscience. I know that it will happen.
Well, you mentioned the homeless. The homeless are being targeted. They're being rounded up and being sent now. They've made, in some states, they made it illegal to be homeless in some cities. So they are sending the homeless to the FEMA camps. Not quite like prison. You got to get permission. You got to catch a ride on a bus to leave there. But it's easier to target the homeless. And we've had over 1 million people made homeless by this whole banking cartel, this banking setup, this economic crash Now they're targeting our money. It's happened before. If you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. And just like Germany, they were carrying their douche marks around in wheelbarrows and using it for start fires with, because the inflation took it out. You work for the bankers. You ought to be able to see what they're doing, what they're attempting to impoverish the American people. And what we saw in the Bundy Ranch, I'll probably talk about that a little bit later here. I've got a nice little flick. I've told people that any time a communist regime takes over a totalitarian regime, because the whole idea of communism has been tarnished by the bankers who started communism. It's they're going after the farmers and the ranchers first, and it doesn't matter if you're trying to grow a garden in your backyard, if you're trying to put a solar on your roof, if you're trying to catch rainwater in a barrel, you're being targeted right now. Go ahead.
I want to stop for a minute and just say this. I believe that this happened to some extent to create fear, being that I know media and social engineering, I'm an expert at it. So that if everyone is feeling fear, well, then that's feeding the machine.
That's exactly what they want, madam. They want you to be afraid. This is what Alex Jones does. Be afraid. Be afraid. The Russians are coming. The Germans are coming. The Saudis are coming. The Arabs are coming. Be afraid. This is what they want. It's divide and conquer, and fear destabilizes your ability to think. One of the reasons I think they really don't like me much is because I don't fear. I've died 3 times. I'm not afraid of death. You can't... Oh, Clay, aren't you afraid to ride a motorcycle now? They tried to kill you on a motorcycle. Aren't you afraid to ride? No, I'm not afraid to ride. You ever trip? You're afraid to walk? No, I'm not afraid to ride. And I'm not afraid of the New World Order.
Well, I sent you a bite yesterday about some things we were going to discuss. I want to say this. That when I walked away, I was what you might call a contactee from a child. My dad worked for NASA. Oh, and I have been interviewed by Michael Hessman at the Vatican. All of a sudden, he's all over the place on the internet, right? All of a sudden, everything is going pretty crazy with the ET agenda. And everybody is excited about first contact and ascension. And the way I look at it with these people is, what's it going to be like? Well, if you're not already in it, then you've got a serious problem.
Let me just interject something here. This issue of the Free American contains about the first half century of ET contact in the United States, and I've said somewhat facetiously that the reason that the ETs are so top secret, such a black operation, is because the elitists don't want you to know that we could have lunch on the moon and be back in time for dinner without using a drop of gasoline. And
truth is stranger than fiction, if I can quote the movie Swordfish. And in our 3D space that we sit in, we're sharing so much energy because this planet is so interesting and so creative. One of the things about a lot of people in the so-called conspiracy world or whatever is their ability to believe anyone, the ability to they want the magic pill. My question is, are you taking the blue pill or the red pill? I took that pill 20 years ago. And the messages that I get are not a mess. You compartmentalize. I will share with the studio audience, if you want attention, if you want to know the key to the matrix and the grid, study the nuances. study your intuition. The left-right brain of the ego or the id is constantly making a decision about the relevance of self. And the situation with that is, in a 3D paradigm where time doesn't exist in the quantum, that's where one gets stuck. Now in the heart, they found 40,000 cells of brains, and I know that there's probably another aspect to that, but I don't have time to study anything. So when one thinks with their heart chakra, you get the left-right duality paradigm out of the way, and it is easier for you to access your intuition, and that is the key to coincidence, creating your reality. And believe me, the more you fear, you will attract it. There is no death. It doesn't exist. When I walked away from the Illuminati, when I saw how they were going to program everyone.
Well, they don't.
And I work for Brand Corporation unknowingly. I said, you're not going to use me. They said I would never touch money again. Well, today we're going to break down how I'm touching money, and I'm going to expose some serious things. And I mean it. Like, I'm not joking. When I walked away, I was sitting in a place and I met an Agarthan who came up to me and said, are you ready for your mission? I had dreams. That mission's been 20 years, and I've known you, Clay, and I've never told you a damn thing about this until the right timing. And this is the right timing. And that's what I want to say. Now, we talk about the extraterrestrial breeding program, and I spoke to you about that. And there's a reason.
Well, I think we have met the enemy, and he is us. I keep hearing Don Henley's little tune going through my head. And the ETs, the ancient aliens that is so popular right now, is pretty much just hype. We are the aliens. We are, or some of us, are the genetic product of technology. And I don't necessarily believe it came from the stars. I believe we went to the stars. We built the ships. We traveled this whole country. We mapped Antarctica when it was a tropical paradise. I think we've got, that's one of the reasons I've decided this year, starting this year, I am only writing science fiction because of the science fiction that I wrote 45 years ago suddenly isn't science fiction anymore. It's we got researchers, we got archaeologists saying, wait a minute, we've had flying ships 10,000 years ago. 10,000 years ago, they called them Vimanas in the Indian literature. So,
well, of course, and I want to move through these topics. Okay, because a lot of the studio audience that listens to you, that they get their information for their shows, knows this. I want to talk about de-evolution and entropy, the Akashic Record, Gnosis.
The Akashic Record, out as it is.
About 9/11. I have not talked about 9/11, okay, and everybody talks about how it happened, this and that. I would really like to talk about what was behind it, having been an insider to knowing this corporate structure, and why it's so important that I break with you and talk about this, because the conspiracy circles don't know this information because they're not trained in corporate business, international global business, import-export.
9/11 was simply the most recent of the false flags to take us into wars. Pearl Harbor, another Pearl Harbor.
I want to talk about the financial end. Nobody's ever said this. I've never heard it, and I'm breaking with this right now. Before 9/11, there were some things that happened to create the derivative market that I was involved in and created financial paper. Once that broke, okay, they had to get rid of Glass-Steagall and SEC oversight in 1999. In 2000, what happened when 9/11 happened? In the global trade business, so I'm going to pick one industry, clothing, manufacturing, just for the sake of this argument, this purpose, this reality. When manufacturing in the United States happened, and I will tell you how it all fell apart. Everybody's scratching their rear end trying to figure it out. Here's the key. The Zionist Jew Illuminati, they had to create a way to get those 8-year-old children bleeding their fingers with their sacrificial lambs and everybody that they throw away with the pride of Zion for that cheap money, that cheap labor, so they could up the percentage. In manufacturing, you have wholesaling, okay? Wholesaling's at 100%. Right? When it goes to retail, it gets marked up 200%. So when you think you've got a sale at 70% off, they're still making 30%. Okay? Now, when a clothing manufacturer gets a purchase order from a buyer, let's say Neiman Marcus, and Neiman Marcus says, I want 5,000 Chanel suits, then that piece of paper or purchase order becomes money. And just like agricultural farming, it is called factoring. Factoring, when a company back in the day would have to have $10 million in purchase orders to get factored. At that point, the brokerage and materials, the port of entry, Mexico, wherever it goes to the bayous and trade and in freight and shipping, goes to those manufacturers, assembly. And here's the trick. If the date of those Chanel suits are not on point before, let's say Black Friday, and after, that retail product becomes a closeout and a money loss. At 9/11, and these buyers, to make these orders, the buyers, the buying happens, you know, in the clothing manufacturing industry. You'll buy for the winter 3 quarters before for those orders. So when everything is getting ready to come in on 9/11, World Trade Center, it blew. Everything got shut down and bottlenecked in the industry, wiped out manufacturing in the United States.
Let me interrupt you here, because the whole attack on the United States economy started with NAFTA and GATT. I publicized that in my magazine and on my radio shows over 20 years ago. 9/11 was not about 9/11 was about a nuclear attack on America. It was to take us into war. The economy of America had already been destroyed. When China starts making everything and shipping it over here and selling it in Walmart, that's a direct attack on the American economy.
That's correct, and that started right after Glass-Steagall SEC oversight. Okay, after 2000, if you go to yard sales, you go anywhere, you know, where you will find any product, good or service. If you go to 99, you'll still see made in the USA. After 2000, it's made in China. It's made in Sri Lanka. It's made overseas. These things are set up years before in order to complete an agenda, and these agendas take a minute to do. Now, we know that they've tried to target the World Trade Center before, but this setup...
They did it better this time. They used nuclear weapons. That's all in the June issue of the Free American.
I'm not going to get into that part.
I'm just telling you, I got into it in June issue of the Free American. I've got pictures of the bombs they used, the nuclear weapons they used to bring down the Twin Towers. That's all. Go ahead.
I've been listening and paying attention for years, and I'm not a demolitions expert. I just know what's behind the money. The only thing I'm good at is what's behind the money and why they do it and what they had to set up to destroy manufacturing in this country, to make sure that we became a slave state, so that our jobs were lost. And if you know, there's a difference between homeless and being a gypsy, or just being free. Everybody's about 2 paychecks away from homelessness or being a gypsy and really embracing that and getting the story. I've noticed the people have been so fractured now because the plans have worked, that I was on the inside and they didn't need me. Okay, but people say, oh, I don't want to lose my disability. But you don't want to lose SSI, which is somewhere around $700 a month. You don't want to lose that. You can't live on it. They've suppressed everybody. With 300 and something million people in the United States, 100 million people are above or below the poverty line on food stamps. Now that percentage in China, our top 2% in this country, in China, is 300 million people off the backs of what went down in Glass-Steagall and what they did in the World Trade Center. Now, when these people make these plans, they don't have a good business plan. They think, like Iraq, it's going to be so easy. We're just going to go in and do it, right? Well, it didn't work so well. I'd like to talk about one thing that I like to talk about gnosis. I like to talk about spirituality. I like to talk about the breeding program, the goddess, the Sharon. Let me ask you a question, Cole. What is it the Satanists fear? Nobody gets to that. What is it that the Satanists fear? Do you know?
They fear knowledge. They fear people that don't fear them. Go ahead.
What I know they fear is the Kali Ma, the goddess, right?
I'm sorry, I'm not buying into the God and goddess bullshit. That's all it is.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what they believe, right? The reason the pornography industry is so exciting is because if they can take down the archetype of a female, and I'm not a feminist, I'm a lady, and if they can take down that archetype, and I walk around as a lady, and you know what I look like, and I can see that it's working, because the perversion of pornography and sexuality is so out of hand. If they can pervert the family, pervert the home, pervert the female archetype, then what they fear can't come to fruition. And what they fear is being exposed. Which we're doing today. They can take down that matriarch, if they can take down that system and continue to rape and pillage. That's what they fear.
I have up on my Facebook, which is Free American 69 on Facebook, I have the statement of a friend of mine, 2 friends of mine, people that were featured at my expo in Mesquite well over 10 years ago now. Kathy O'Brien, Mark Phillips. Kathy O'Brien talks about the mind control, talks about the pornography, talks about the destruction and the programming of children through torture. And that's all up on Free American 69. I'm glad to see she's still alive. Mark's kept her alive and kept her going. Her daughter was one of the children molested by George Bush Sr. And the whole program was talked about in the Franklin cover-up. So, at any rate, go ahead. Now, what about you? Now, you've been targeted. Why? Everybody's got this information. Anybody that reads the Free American is probably more informed than anybody that watches CNN or NBC. I used to watch the NBC Today show and thought I was informed. I didn't know crap. Why are they still after you? You're out of the picture. You're not involved with the banking anymore. You're just another person out there barking around trying to get by. Of course, you're a nice-looking lady, so you would attract some of the people. The hell, you attracted me. But I'm not a rapist, and I'm not an elitist, and I don't harm anyone. I don't like bullies, and I'm a bully's worst nightmare.
Well, I want to get one thing perfectly clear. I'm a prodigy. I have Asperger's. I have a prodigy with Asperger's and autism. In an industry that's far too concerned with these children, $137 billion, and there are no programs for the adults. Why? Because the brain is unique. The breeding program and the breeding, and they need to shut them down. That industry is so huge, it's bigger, the budget's bigger than the state of California, and larger than General Motors industry. Why are they so concerned? Because that is the breeding program. It doesn't matter about the tall whites. If you look at Charlie Hall, he talks about them. They're very happy being who they are, okay? But it has to come from inside, and Star Trek wasn't so long. We can't interfere. So the breeding program was to do things that they're not able to do. You see, this lady, Temple Grandin, is supposedly the top 100 most respected people in the world. She's simply a simple autistic, okay? And when we use the word autistic or Asperger's, there's a guy named Asperger. He saw the difference in these children, and then autism. Okay, when I first heard about it, I said, Al Hamburger, what? And autism, what? You know, Rain Man 256 sticks. Well, as somebody that knows how to program and marketing, I said, those are the wrong words, and they're doing it intentionally. They don't want anybody to know that it's not a disease. No. The mind's organic, okay? It's an organic gift. You see, they call it disabled, learning disability. When I grew up, we called it gifted and talented. I was fortunate. My father worked very roughly, and I was able to explore all my gifts, utilize my education, get college credit at 14 years old, and become trained, and I'm grateful for that. But these children are unique and they're different. For instance, I can feel color. I can feel light. I'm able to connect in a quantum way. I'm able to connect in a way with information that remote viewers can't. I'm able to get downloaded and get out of the matrix. And the other thing about, we call it gifted, we call it prodigy. That's otherwise known as savant. They're far too interested. And the one thing that's consistent, when you know media and you know programming, you continue to look at one thing. What is it? It's sort of like being, my tutor. So with my tutor, I teach my students that whenever a college professor repeats something 3 times, it's going to be on a test. So I learned to look at it that way. When the people continue to say that these children are unempathetic, I beg to differ. I believe that it's the Illuminati Zionists that are unempathetic. Oh, yes, they are. They're experimenting on these children. The Rothschilds are, and I have names, okay? And I have a way to get into it, and I'm going to give the keys for anybody listening that have far greater tools to explore this than I do.
Don't break, because today I'm going to show you how to save money.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. We have a propensity not to lie. It's very uncomfortable for us. We don't like anger. Hate hurts. Words hurt. Things hurt. And then this whole conspiracy circle of, I have contact. Listen, the beings that I have contact with, the interdimensional beings, all right, it's got to come from within. And on this planet, we've got to solve our own problems. If anybody thinks a ship's going to clean up radiation, if anybody thinks that anything's going to happen before first contact, which everybody's waiting for, these energies are so sensitive, and this planet is so barbaric, I can hardly take it, which is why I have to check out. I'd rather take a backpack and hang out than deal with most people, because it's very irritating to me, hatred and anger, and I have a hearing situation where, you know, I'm sensitive to hearing. I have sensitivity. I feel people's emotion empathically. I'm able, I hate the word psychic, but yes. Okay, and I can't.
Okay, now hold on, there. You're really going all over the place here. I want a little bit more focus here. Where you know, I want focus. You understand that? I want to be focused here. I don't. I agree. You make statements and then you go over into left field somewhere. This is a problem I think all people have. I found a long time ago that women especially couldn't hold on to a thought for more than 60 seconds without going off in left field somewhere and thinking about this and thinking about that and thinking about that. I prefer and almost demand of my guests, you hold a thought, you finish a thought, you give us some direction here. Now, you mentioned...
I got you, Clay. I've never exposed this, and it's actually an Asperger's trait. I'm going too quickly, actually.
Yes, ma'am.
So we'll
this is what we do. Now, just let me clarify a few things. Yeah, there are ETs. This whole issue of the Free American, June issue of the Free American, talks about the aliens, and there are some aliens out there. My father-in-law, one of my father-in-laws, escorted the little gray from Roswell to Truman's office, but there's also aliens that you'll never know they're aliens because they look just like me, look like you, look like an American, look like a human being. They may be from another star system. They may have been born here, but maybe their ancestors didn't come. And a lot of our civilizations, Michael Tellinger was just, I featured him on my show 2 days ago. He has discovered 150,000-year-old cities in South Africa built around the gold mines. They used us, they genetically engineered us. So many of us don't know our full potential. They don't know the how to access the deeper regions of the mind. You even mentioned the Akashic records. The internet is the earthly equivalent of the Akashic records, and you can call it connection with God. You can call it a soul. You can call it a conscience. But we all have the ability, the potential to access that. Now, we've been genetically engineered, so we don't use all of the power of our DNA. Most of us don't. Those of us that do, they call geniuses. We've just got to...
I believe that...
Go ahead.
Well, studying the neural nets, I was basically threatened all my life to become a neurosurgeon, and that's not something I could do. But I've studied neuropsychology for 30 years. And when one's mind atrophies, I've only owned 2 TV sets, and I do not watch it because I do not want to get into alpha. When one does not use their mind, the neural nets become stuck, and then one is limited with the ability and capabilities to send themselves beyond. And that is for your studio audience to research. Neural nets are extremely important, which you being the great literary and the student that you are and the reader that you are, your mind is very wired, and particularly because of your own situation with being drugged, going through the things you did, your tenacity, your warrior capability, who you are as a person in your own DNA, to stand up and win and fight and not lay down, is a perfect example of neural net structure, of somebody being able to go through, continue to wire their neural nets. And the consistent research studies are that over the age of 50, your brain actually becomes more intelligent. In fact, when women are pregnant, their IQs go up. These are all things that are suppressed, but things that fascinate me when I stand back and watch. And I've come up with a new word for the zombie apocalypse, as I'd say a media director, producer. I like to call it the janky apocalypse. I'm resurrecting an old word. Because the government's janky, people are janky, and it is an apocalypse. If anybody's lived in major cities and they're boots on the ground, not compartmentalizing their car, we'll see that the program is working with the cell phone technology, with the cell phone towers masked, with microwaves, they're being able to put key signals in, the drones. You know what city that's come out of. We're not going to talk about it, but it's going on. That control for, well, an SHTS situation is on the brink right now. And they want it. They want to misdirect everything. So we've got to expose the biggest key, the biggest straw on a camel's back. But you're a perfect example. And anyone older, the perfect example of neural net structure, the ability to move through and read and learn.
Well, I could read before I ever went into elementary school. I'm working on my master's degree, and I dropped out of school in the 9th grade. 9th grade dropout that scored 97% on my high school equivalency. It's we are being controlled. You've got a lot. It's not that I'm that unique. It's just we've all got this ability, but they don't call television programming for nothing. It is the greatest mind control tool out there. You're being engineered. You're being controlled. You're being programmed. And it doesn't have to be that way. Now, exactly what I've told you, they've gone after the farmers. They go after the ranchers. That's what happened in Nevada. They wanted to take that farmland and put up wind generators or solar generators. Solar's a better, doesn't make the noise that the wind does. Talked to people up in Colorado, and while Colorado's got legalized marijuana up there, which I think is a giant step, because I wrote about that 45 years ago. Matter of fact, I just set up my after 45 years of carrying it around in a box, I finally got it edited. I got it typed in. The Solomon novels I'm working on now. But this is what I wrote 45 years ago. Just the first chapter, just the first few paragraphs. And this is about a United States in the future when victimless crimes have been abolished in 46 states. Governor reemphasizes his stand in war against drugs. In a press conference today, the governor of the state of Texas confirmed his hardline stand against the legalization of marijuana and other types of drugs, in spite of the pressure from the White House and Congress to conform to the policies of the other 46 states. The president, currently serving his second term, denounced the straight states for what he termed harassment of the U.S. citizens and called for the immediate release of travelers arrested under these states' archaic laws. The governor answered the president's charges in a prepared statement Tuesday. Texas will continue to lead the fight against drugs both here and in the Congress, despite the current madness that is sweeping the country like an epidemic. I've strengthened our borders in order to provide protection for our neighboring states that feel as we do, of the dangers of the uncontrolled elements in our society. I can only hope that, encouraged by our efforts here, people elsewhere will realize the dangers of a major drug abuse problem in their own states and will act to rid our country of the scourge that has been released upon it by our lack of concern and action. That's the first... Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask you a question. What do you believe? First of all, do you believe everything is connected? We're all connected to each other?
Do I believe everything what?
Well, I believe that it is not ion, like the metaphysical circles like to say, but it's that we are a race of human beings. And in this world, the beings on this planet do to each other they do to each other things that no animal or mammal that's ever been created does to its own kind. It's heinous. And in Western civilization particularly, do you believe that we're connected to each other?
Well, I believe...
not good, but...
Would you like for me to answer that?
Yes.
I believe if you're omniscient and omnipotent, you know everything and you can do anything, what you really are is bored to tears. And what do you do about that? You create us. You create man out of you engineer our DNA, and you put a spark of your divinity. Now remember, you're omniscient and omnipotent, but you're the only one of your kind. You got to be a little lonely. You got to be a little bit bored. You can do anything. So where's your intrigue? Where's your excitement? Where's your romance? You create us. Spark of your divinity. And then you basically give us amnesia and free will. There you go, guys. You got it. You got all the power in the world. You can access God. That's why every religion out there is simply bullshit. Mostly it's about control. And what Jesus tried to tell you is that you can do what I do and more. You got contact with God. God is a part of you. So that means we're all connected with that little spark of divinity that we call the soul. We call ESP. We can call it a conscience. We got the choice. We can be good or we can be evil. You can try to subdue, you can try to control, you can try to steal, you can try to confiscate somebody else's wealth, or you can let them alone and protect them. That's why I said I'm a bully's worst nightmare. You won't pick on the hippies. I mean, I worked with them. I sold every head shop in America. I sold peace symbols on the flag. I stopped the war. Yeah. Hey, guys, you know, I smoke pot too. Want to try to fuck with me?
You know, Clay, what I want to say, and I'm going to do this in the second hour, as long as we can do problem reaction solution, which is, you know.
Hang on here. I've just, somehow I've lost something. I'm not seeing my, oops, yep, I've lost something, sure enough. Let me bring back Truth Radio. Let me get Truth Radio back up here. I didn't hear, there we go. I wrote that. Huh, that sounds familiar. All right, welcome back to Truth Radio. We lost you there for just a second. I didn't hear the music, so I thought to check. So we got Blog Talk, we got Crusade, we got Truth Radio. My guest today is Madam X. And she had just asked me a question. Are we all connected somewhere? Yes, we are. I believe that God created us with a spark of His divinity that we call the soul. I think that may be why these godless, satanic creatures out there masquerading as humans, they may be totally jealous of us because we got something they don't. It's called the soul. It's called that spark of divinity. And, you know, there ain't no such thing as original sin. The churches want you to be afraid. The religions want you to be afraid. You better come to us and check with us, and we'll tell you what God says. Why should I have to do that? God is my Father. God is within me. I can talk to God anytime I want. I don't need a translator. I don't need a rabbi. I don't need a priest. I don't need a shaman, because I've got the control on that. Madam X, does that answer your question, at least how I feel?
I believe that you have the right to feel exactly how you want to feel, and I do not believe that this God is a he or she. I believe it's a source.
I think it's what holds the atoms together. It's what holds the atoms together, and by that means, you can make it into this table, you can make it into this flesh, you can make it into whatever you want to. You got to, you know, look how perfectly this world works, from the insects that the birds feed on to the you know, to what we feed on, to the bees that pollinize our crops. It's a pretty, I think God did a hell of a good job.
I believe that it's, without the matrix or the structures that are in place controlling the paradigm and the matrix that people haven't gotten out of that they want to so much, and I think I could talk for 2 weeks about this, but Gnosis, the original meaning of Gnosis, was to learn everything that you could, to learn and learn so you could become a solid person and not by opinion and things that are not studied. Henceforth, man has been given the ability to think and question why, to err. How does one know that one can question why out of ignorance? The center of the concentric circle, I say. So, with a vast amount of study as you do, and as I do, the student becomes a teacher, the teacher is always a student. And since the timeline for the Kabbalists and the Satanists, they're not in it. They're not seeing their future. It's entropy now. They're caving in on themselves. They're hysterical. They're all over the place. There's so much information. The only thing that I know, that my job is to find out one thing. The most heinous crimes on the globe against women and children. This is the male agenda of the Kabbalists. Magic that they perform is to kill and murder. As long as they can take innocent blood, as long as they can continue to feed their need for that power, they're going crazy, and they really don't have answers to their own, goddamn questions. Right? You can't tell me a bunch of politicians up in the top of the government, Satanists, that are attorneys, can solve an economic job crisis. The people that can are so afraid of it, they won't step forward. And they've managed to shut all of those people down that are our age, so that they've wiped out their drive, they've wiped out what they can do. They're in a depression, which is the state they want them in. But right now, these people are going nuts. They're going crazy, and to me, the number one issue worldwide, pedophilia, the death of women. Oh no, many people have died over the pedophile issue, exposing it. Well, I don't want to put my face forward with that. I'll give it the key. Everybody can run with it. That's what they fear. See, they fear. It's now a reverse for them. They're hiding it so much that it's bound to be exposed by those that can connect. And our friend Bill got close enough that they murdered him. Well, I have nothing to fear. This is my job. This is my mission. This is what I'm here to do. Women and children. I don't give a flying fuck, okay? And I'll say this about everybody's particular right to get on a goddamn ship and have first contact. Fuck that. You people are all over the place. The only issue, if you're sleeping at night and you know that children and babies are being eaten and experimented on and tortured and raped to the tune of 800,000 you in this country, and you can sleep at night, go fuck off. You're not a part of the solution. You're a part of your own ego and arrogance. How do you feel about that, Clay? Are we going to get some Christians on here that are going to hang up and sound and burn in hell right now? What are they doing about it?
I have put up on my website, Kathy O'Brien's talk about this. I have put up on my website the common law courts in Brussels that have gone after the Queen and the Catholic Church for the molestation and the genocide of children. That's an issue that I try to deal with all the time.
Well, it's a good cover, isn't it? Because who's behind the OP, who is behind that is the Rothschilds, by the way. Just do the research on the paperwork. Everything comes down to paperwork and making money. Rothschilds behind Annette, by the way. Just research it, it's there. I can send you the information. Be careful with that, because what they want to expose, they're actually trying to hide, but it won't work. It won't work. Global, everybody's talking about pedophilia. How does it work? How does it work? You want to go there? I'll take a bullet for it right now, Clay.
Nobody's asking you to take a bullet. The problem that we've got is that people. Now, don't get off on another agenda here. We're talking about what we can do, and we're talking about answers. Yeah, there's a problem. Yeah, pedophilia exists. I put up Kathy O'Brien. She was molested as a child by her father and went into MK Ultra. I met Kathy. I met Mark. Got to smoke a joint with him. It's interesting that Kathy said she was allowed to do any drugs that she wanted, but couldn't smoke pot because the pot broke the control.
Well, my father worked for NASA. He was a Mason. He was a Mason geneticist Satanist. And I was pedophile, and I've been abused, and I have PTSD. I get through it. And you know what? It's exactly that reason I'm committed to this. There's children out there right now saying, somebody help us. There are people out there that have also been abused, adults that are screaming, how does it work? How do we get them? I got the answer for everybody. I can't do all the work myself. I've done enough. It's hard enough for me to attack this, and those that are listening have far greater resources to expose these son of a bitches. And I can give the key, and let's go there. Well, we all know about, everybody knows Baphomet. You know, we learned it from Bill Cooper. And I've been studying it for 30 years myself. The Third Reich, the Fourth Reich, the Reich, the assholes, the Zionists. Well, it comes down to corporate contract law and that widget. And let's talk about it. Foundations, 1990s. 501c3 grant money funding. That's where your key is, right there. If you go in and start looking at foundations, Gods and Goddess, the Aries Foundation, start looking them up. Start looking up the politicians that are connected with the charities. For what? Charitable children organizations. To give charity for the children. It's all about the children, right?
Anytime somebody says it's for the children, a cold chill goes up my spine.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, you went, as far as I'm concerned, you just went off in left field talking about 501c3
because
corporations.
I need to talk about this. This is the key to some people listening. The way you get them, Congress, you get the House of Representatives, oh, believe me, they'll listen to this show. I'm fucking them right now, and I'm happy to do it back. These powerful people have to cooperate with the Zionists to control politics in order to have their agenda. They hide behind their billions with foundations and charitable organizations, which they massage and give each other money, women, charitable children, the needy. Okay, it sets them up to do a second thing, be on board of directors of education organizations. And those organizations are stealth and give them keys to who they want to pick. Is that a CPS walk in, and these police don't even know what they're doing, grab these kids, CPS walks in, and then you got your human trafficking, don't you? Right there in your nose, that's where it is. Break them. That's where it is. That's where the animal lies. I'm going to bring up a word, and this is a word I don't even care about. Look at gnosis. Gnossos. Foundation. In Greek, okay, is a sacrificial labyrinth. And they love that. They love cult stuff. They love the mythos. That's why they hide right in front of your face. You can't easily expose them. However, all these politicians, they do have to put up their income levels to be researched. And their portfolios look like an Illuminati portfolio.
Now, let me stop you for just a second, because what they've done to me, the magazines that I've started, the magazines that I've published, I built their value up well into $1 million. I even had one of them sold, half of it, 50% sold for $500,000 for 3 days. And what they have done to me is tried to stop any deal, tried to stop any financing. One of the reasons I contacted you, got in contact with you, is because I've got articles here, I've got novels here, I've got films. Hell, I've even got the music for the films written. And what I just read you, that first 2 paragraphs, in a 45-year-old subject, it sounds like it came out of today's paper between about a little border dispute between Texas and Colorado. And we certainly got border disputes with Texas and Oklahoma about where that Red River is running. Some of our, people are freaking out because Colorado, now you can smoke a joint without going to prison for it. It's,
you know what I just said when I said I'm getting interference, and I set myself up on Foxy today. Okay. Now, I want to let you know something, Clay. What I just said, I'm shaking. And I'm sweating. Your grant money coming out of Washington. The reason Eric Holder, FBI agent James Comey, can't talk about the targeting of Americans. They expose their foundations, and they expose themselves, and they can't let it come out. Senate oversight. It's all connected to foundations and 501c3s, and that's your special interest.
Now, I don't know why you're...
I have projects I can't get done because of my targeting. My own. And solving manufacturing in the United States on tax law, global finance, and how to get it done in this country. I'm scared. If I don't come out with this, I can't sleep at night.
Somebody just, let me share a little bit of the chat room with you. One of my people from Canada says, who pushed pedophilia via Hollywood? Talmudic Jews. Another gentleman from Europe says, can I find info on her just by searching Madam X, or has she another name? My Canadian guest says, sorry, but adding vulgarity to your statements only weakens it. And I responded, no, you can find nothing about her anywhere. Only I know who she is. You are protected. You
responded that woman, my vulgarity. Let's talk about vulgarity. You want to go there? You want a pretty pink picture, lady?
No.
Okay, you like the idea of a 3-year-old getting used?
Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. I just shared what somebody said in the chat room. Now, we can have this conversation without vulgarity. We don't need to do that. I agree with him on that. So let it go.
We can have it without vulgarity. We can have it without vulgarity. So do we want to have it with, how about biology? Physiology? Let's have it there. How about a phallus?
Let's stay on subject. Let's stay on subject. What can we do about the situation? Now, the reason I originally contacted you, I thought we got films to make, we got books to promote, we got a magazine that's telling the truth about the ETs, about the Germans, about the Nazis, about the Zionists. I cover it all in the Free American and on this radio show. But
something I could say, I do want to say this. My father would go around in his grave hearing tests. You know, it said it only lowers your IQ. But, you know, if I worry about what everybody thinks, I can't feed myself. And I shake at night. You know, so please, all I have to deliver this is uncomfortable and I'm putting my life in danger. So please just back off for a minute. Get the information, deal with it how you can, because really, honestly, when I'm doing business and my name's out there, I never swear. Perfect manners raises a debutante. Now, I think the issue is, how do we stop it? How do we expose them? Well, I have more, and you may be getting contacted by a certain person. If that certain person wants to pick me up, I'll give it all out. As long as I can go in hiding and do it and be protected. Because if you think I'm not going to cry over this,
about this protection,
come out and be angry or get upset.
About this protection, you told me you were protected, you had some Marines or something protected you, and then the next thing I heard from you is they were ripping you off, they were tweakers, they were this or they were that. But
no, that was a cousin, and these people don't know anything about what I'm exposing right now, and I've just moved it up to a different level. Okay, I've just moved it up to a different level, stepped it up. They're far too, when we deal with these kind of military individuals, their intellectual prowess is not what it needs to be for the kind of next level of protection I'm talking about. So, you know, moving forward.
Moving forward, go ahead. What? Maybe we're asking the wrong question here. I know what I'm doing. I've been doing it for 25 years. I blew the whistle on George Bush's drug smuggling operation. I blew the whistle on George Bush's pedophilia with Kathy O'Brien's daughter. I've sold Kathy O'Brien's book along with Dr. John Coleman, and I promote and have on a regular basis Gordon Duff, who's doing Veterans Today, probably doing the best job out there of other news organizations. I featured George Bush's story, Gordon Duff's story in this June issue of the Free American. It's up on Facebook. It's up on my website, freeamerican.com. and he talks about the nuclear demolition of the World Trade Center. Now, the repercussions from that was simply another Pearl Harbor, it's another Lusitania, another Remember the Maine. All of these are stories concocted to bring us into a war because the bankers fund both sides of every conflict. Same thing's happening in Iraq again now. Remember, Saddam Hussein was our creation, and we used him to go to war with Iran, and then we killed him when he was no more use, and today the people are again rebelling, and the terrorists are coming in to Iraq. So it's all happening all over again. Now, I am trying to do something. I do feature Gordon Duff on here, and I'll go back to the original question. I asked you to come down to help me. I've got movies to make. I've got books to write. I need some help with them. I need some backing with them. I'm having you on this show to promote something, and I haven't heard anything to promote yet. I haven't, you say you're scared. Well, the best way you said you were...
I'm not scared. No. We have to change that word. I'm the word master. That's the words. In trepidation, which means dauntless and fearless. In other words, trepidation. Approach with caution. Approaching with caution.
Okay.
Okay?
So we can stand here by ourselves screaming about the problems, but if we don't have a coordinated plan of attack, a coordinated plan, how do we work together? What can we do to solve this problem? This is what I look for.
Okay.
This is what I look for. Personally, this is what I look for.
Anybody out there that's a huge researcher, anybody that wants to be part of the solution with the children, start looking at politicians, their financial statement, the foundations that they're attached to. I've given keys today.
And
then start looking at these politicians, that are part of board of directors of education, right? The schools, and primary education with the children, because they make their targets that way. That's how they get their targets.
I got half a dozen politicians hitting me up for donations. If you donate to a politician, it don't matter whether they're Republican or Democrat, the only way they get to be a politician is if the media, controlled by the Zionists, controlled by the Jewish element here, if they don't tell you that Gary Johnson is running for president, you won't be able to vote for him, will you? This is what's happening. Governor Gary Johnson was the person that authorized the militia in New Mexico. I formed the militia in his office. I tried to do something, and it was the militia, the residue of the militias that I started 20 years ago that turned the tables on the Bundy Ranch in Nevada. Now, that means that we've done it right, but we invested over $1 billion that went into the campaigns of Republicans and Democrats, Obama, and whoever he was running against, Mitt Romney. All that money we donated went right to the media companies that keep you in the dark. Right now, the Free American is the only media out there, along with maybe Gordon Duff's Veterans Today, that is telling you the truth. And the Bundy Ranch thing had just went away. Two of the people that they tried to send into the Bundy Ranch, the militia turned away, sent them back. So they went to Las Vegas, shot a couple of cops and killed themselves, and tried to link the Bundy whole thing with them. Another false flag operation. That's what happened.
Well, that's, I don't want to get into what everybody's already gotten into, because that's not my area.
I'm just answering the question.
You asked me how to solve it, and I got it. I pay attention to all of it. My issue is this, we've got 67 million disabled people in this country, right? We've got special interests. Those special interests fund each other under the guise of charitable, under the guise of disabled, under the guise, and all it is a black hole going into the pockets of the states, special interests, to hide human trafficking. Why is it when you go on the government website, all of a sudden, did you ever see Abomination get up in the UN and orchestrate human trafficking laws? Oh yeah, it's all over the place in Washington. Human trafficking. They're so about human trafficking. What is that human trafficking? Children. They hide behind what's obvious. They put that money out there, and that's why we have so many children starving. Because they care so much about the children, don't they? Solve it. It's right there. That is what my job is. So we address the women and the children. And I'm talking on a worldwide effort. All I hear about I'll tell you what, Hillary Clinton can go beep herself. This Satanist. She laughs. It's funny to her. Right? Oh, now I've shown the global superimposed. Yeah, okay, fine. Jones, you know how many have you been threatened with? Now you're just a front man. Okay, if you're nascent iodine and your t-shirts. And you're doing such a great job, but you're not exposing. You're exposing 90%, but not the children. I'm exposing the fact right now that the people that out there that know this. I work with these people. I was raised in this. That's where your money is. We expose them. If they go down, they all go down. This is the straw that will break the camel's back globally. Dying Corp, CPS, prison systems, human trafficking. 42% of the people in prisons in this country suffer from mental illness. Expose that and got them.
This whole prison system is about slave labor. We are doing exactly what we tried to accuse China of doing, making these products with slave labor. The prisoners are working for IBM for 25 cents an hour in our prison systems now.
Now, when I went up to Bohemian Grove, way before our Shans ever did, talk about it. I started discovering things, spying. And back then, they would take the prisoners with the highest IQs and put them on computer programs, and the whole movie, The Matrix, was done to the prison systems in the state of California. So, I don't believe everyone in the prison system are making license plates. I believe they can set it up. But more importantly, they're making money, $30,000 a year? How people in prison, they have to buy their own supplies in their own store, that live in hell, that eat shit food? Well, it's just another human trafficking. More human trafficking. We've got 9 points for the Communist Manifesto, any place without taking a shot. Would you agree with that?
No, I'd say we got all 10.
We have 10 now. Good. I'm glad I'm wrong. But
central bank, corporate farms, their whole food supply, that's why they go after the farmers first, because they don't want you being able to feed yourself. That's why they're going after the rural America right now. Matter of fact, let me just play this little clip here.
Is an easy target. They essentially have no voice in the political arena. Everyday lawmakers at every level of government are making insane, unconstitutional laws that directly affect rural landowners. Every day, most people just ignore what goes on in the halls of local, state, and federal governments. Every day, that is, until one of these insane laws catches up with a landowner, and the landowner has to choose between being caught in the enforcement of the insane law or to run. Many stay and fight the injustice because, by God, they are Americans, and they have the property rights to defend themselves under our Constitution.
That's exactly what happened with Bundy. The rural America is under attack, and I've been talking about it. I've been telling people for years now, more than almost 20 years, that grow your own food in the backyard instead of the grass. Put solar on your roof, wind on your roof, and catch the water off the roof. But of course, now you can smoke pot in Colorado, but if you catch water, you catch water in a rain barrel, we can send you to jail for that now. If you're catching water to water your pot plants, you can go to jail for that.
Clay, do you want another big key?
Go ahead.
Okay. Rothschild's experiments on children. These children are food as well. Organ transplants, studying the organic mind, a unique mind that is an advancement on the breeding program. Here's the key. It's called Swedish.org. Okay? They have emergency services, Neuroscience Institute, orthopedic, pediatric specialty, but I'm really liking that it's all connected, and it's connected with the politicians whoever wants to find it. Transplant programs. What kind of pate? If you've ever studied what is his name, Mutual, whatever, David Icke talks about him. Reptilians eat kids. Okay, they're controlled. It's food. They're food as well. Organ transplant, human trafficking. They've got to keep control and put a face in front of it. Swedish.org, the Swedish service, is connected to the Rothschilds, connected to human trafficking and the kind of DNA that they want. And we all know, isn't it 1972 they started taking the DNA on every child that was born in the United States?
Somewhere along there.
Okay, well, I think that's something to take a look at.
Where does just out of curiosity, maybe you've researched it, I haven't totally, so I can't speak on it authoritatively, but where does these stem cells research come from? Isn't that come from unborn babies? Haven't we murdered 50 million unborn babies here? Many of them in the last trimester.
Well, it comes from the umbilical cord, I think. Okay, when a woman has a child, they offer to, save the umbilical cord, okay, for
stem cells.
Future problems for that child. Now, some of the studio audience can help me. I'm a little fractured, exposing some things I'm doing today, and I'm not quite there, but I just know that they have the DNA on people from 1972, and that DNA exposes their Aryan breeding program. They want better than want the Manchurian. They want that transhumanism. They also want food source to these malevolent ETs. And
Dulce, you're talking about I've exposed the whole system of the ETs in Dulce by one of the people that was the head of the security there.
Are you trying to exposing the archons?
Well, you can call them archons, you can call them the Greys are there, the tall Greys are there, and they've got it compartmentalized. This is what Phil Snyder talked about and tried to expose, and of course he committed suicide by strangling himself with a piano cord. That's kind of the way it works.
That's not really my area, okay? Because there are enough people on that. I think the studio audience is pretty aware with the UFO highways about Dulce. I can't talk about de-evolution and entropy. These races are de-evolving. The thing that's unique, and I do want to speak about this planet is unique. The human beings on this planet have an ability to connect, and even the neurotypicals have an ability to connect and have more emotion and more creativity in this particular quadrant. It's a special jewel. And those of us that have decided to take on the mission by taking the body here, they're connected with it, made a choice to not be a part of the solution. I've done it on my own money. I've never asked for a donation. I do want to say when people become gurus and they want to, I think we've talked about this before, right? I think I mentioned to you one time something about when somebody wants to insert their reality on you and control you, it's a form of possession, isn't it? Another individual. You have to do this and you have to do that. It's a form of possession, isn't it?
That is why I don't sell advertising. I won't work for somebody else. I will advertise for somebody, for a product, for a person that's trying to do the right thing. But you can't buy me. I'm not for sale.
Well, I will share with you, if we have about 20 minutes left.
And I do, by the way, I do take donations. You can go to freeamerican.com and make a donation.
You know, Clay, the deeper we go on this, the more viral this video is going to go.
Go right ahead, dear.
And you all need to worry about that. Let's go deep. What do you want to know about the money? It's all tied to the money. Anything anybody wants to know is the money. All of the money that doesn't even exist. Thing I can talk about. Okay. About these old ETs that set up this paradigm of the pyramid system. The program is running in the matrix. Everything being bought and sold right now is backed by nothing. Zero. And there are people out there that want the money reset and they want this and they want that. But how do you do it? How do you make that work when the money reset happens? Somebody's got to have the answer to that out there. I have it. Global trade finance. Okay. This fairy tale fantasy that, you know, there's going to be a money reset and Masada and all this I'm sorry, pink sunshine, you know, happy pill. You're right. There'll be an envelope under your door. Okay? Sure. There has to, this planet is not at the point where it's evolved enough to move into, the only evolved beings on this planet that are going to survive are going to be 70% of the global population that works in tribes. They're going to survive. The Western civilization is going to crumble. Because we're eating off the blood.
Does that mean you don't believe in the tooth fairy?
It means that I believe when all these people have this, and I love this planet, I mean, marvelous, creative people, but they're all, I mean, you know, when we look at it, things start making sense. It's all chaos theory now. Project Looking Glass, for instance. Most people that are inside know that we went over there for technology. Right? These archons, the people controlling the puppets in Washington, they know who's behind the control mechanism. And the controllers, these ETs are freaking out because they're not a part of the next wave. There's nothing there. They're not a part of it. That's what the de-evolution is. It's called entropy. It's collapsing on itself, as it well should. Now, if you want the God answer on that, when Source created every dimension and every dimension and every dimension, it just kept creating and kept creating. Then it wanted to create a spark of itself. And when it wanted to create a spark and let it go and see what it can create, I believe it was like a 2-year-old child, you know, eating for the first time and saying, ooh, I don't like those peas. I don't think I'm going to want to have that. And since in the quantum world there is no time, when Source decided to create that, it didn't want a piece of it. So it's just a millisecond, I mean, not even a millisecond, if anybody's ever been unveiled, that entropy happened. Entropy has been happening. It's happening right now. And when Source wants to create that which is beautiful creation and free will, it will insert. But those are other dimensions to help the breeding program to come within. And, of course, Atlantis happened. Nuclear war happened before anybody can look at Graham Hancock. I'm not going to, feature him. I'm not going to promote anybody's stuff. And I refuse to say all it. My only thing is just what I'm here to do and program. I believe in saving these children who have no option to think about it. They've got no hope. They're sitting there right now needing help, and this is the breeding program. How can we save them? Because they will have the answers. They have the keys. People can call them crystalline children, rainbow children, but they're being targeted, right? Because that which these ETs and aliens can't control in their entropy, they have to kill. It's very much like a weak link. Alexander the Great, when you study warfare, you can't have a weak link. So they can't own it. They can't have it. They have to research it and dissect it and kill it because it's jealous. And isn't that really Lucifer? Now, I know when I interviewed with Michael Hesseman, and I sure as hell hope the Vatican is listening, he said, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm an emissary, Michael." All of a sudden, Michael Hesseman's all over the place now, all over the place. Yeah. Oh, and I have the Pleiadian credentials, too. Endorsed by the Hopi tribe. We're in Red Kachina. Anybody want to take the blue and red pill? My answer is, Source gives them to me. As long as I stay to do my mission according to my word. And really, I'm no great person. I don't know if the world would miss me or not, Clay, but I do know this. When I make a goal, I can complete it. It's been a 20-year goal. And I will keep my word to myself. Because after all we have is our word, right, Clay?
It was 25 years ago. I swore I would never watch something like Waco happen again without trying to do something. That's why I do what I do now. That's why I do this radio show. This is why I put out this magazine.
And for all these parents out there that, and maybe, Clay, we can, before we upload, we can bleep the curse words out for those that have offended. And I will say this, when I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong. And I'm wrong. And I apologize for my swearing. But this is a hard subject for me and what I've been committed to. So, to the Canadian lady out there, I'd like to apologize to her personally, or anyone else that may have been offended. It's so ugly. We have to. You see, the thing is the most beautiful creativity. The whole thing, everybody wants aliens to land. They think they're special. If we don't solve the problem with the destruction of the matriarchal society, which is all giving and loving, your mothers, your daughters, and your sisters, if we don't solve that, we can't evolve this planet into the next dimension. If you're stuck on I am, take a look at yourself and know that we are. And when you look in that mirror, everything is a fractal of Source. And yes, there is duality, and yes, there's some things that are bad going on, but unless we address the most innocent, we have no chance. of first contact. And that is what I know. And who thinks you're going to be contacted? What, Stephen Gritter, you think you're going to be contacted personally? You think your ambassador program that you charge money for? You think all you people out there that charge money for your information? You know, a client should not have to be asking for a penny. And if this interview is not disseminated, and you learn anything from it, and you don't give $5 out of your hamburger money out of him for what he's sacrificed. The information is not free, and there's been sacrifices. That's why I break with Clay. He's sacrificed. How many of you out there have missed a meal to feed someone else? How many of you out there even know your neighbors or condemn the lady yelling at her kids? Do you know what's going on with her? You know, maybe she just needs a kind word. Maybe we just need a little bit of humanity. How about that? How about a little bit of care? How about when you're so all about going to fund, factoring? Do you know something, Clay? I didn't get to finish the money. It's all the money. When the factoring happens and it all got exported, everybody go to the mall, start looking at the labels. Every 3 months, everything that you spend goes out of this country. That's why we're fracturing. It's the money. It's only being funded by the elite. And we are sacrifices for the extraterrestrials that can't see us evolve, because everything is not only connected in the smallest microcosm, but also the largest. And it is the electric universe. We're all connected as Tauruses. And this is my mission to give this information. I'll give more on the inside with certain key people. But this is the program. These children are our future. It takes a village to raise a child. And if anybody out there thinks they've got the key without looking at humanity, well, then you're surely mistaken. And all those people that think they can stop their chimeric contracts and all this bullshit in the metaphysical society. Okay, started by theosophy, by the way. Constance can be an Aquarian age, and I'm not going to religion, but I will go to Gnosticism. Because the key is in the Gnostic dialect. And I do like this particular scripture. Lay not up treasures on earth where moth and rust doth corrupt, and thieves can break in and steal. But lay your treasures in heaven, where moth and rust doth not corrupt, and thieves do not break in and steal. For where your heart is, there your treasure is also. And this connects to the heart having a brain. It's in your heart, your intuition, and your stomach. Start thinking with that. Start rationalizing it. Clay should never have to ask for a penny. On every show, including a lot of guests that like to have their pomp and their ego and come forward and be a big star, because there's nothing like YouTube, is it? Everybody's got to answer. It's a big star. Everybody's a big star, aren't they? I am. It's all collapsing. And one thing that I know, being a part of the industry in producing, everybody has a book, and they're all a piece of the puzzle. The man you're listening to on this show right now is sacrifice. In fact, being a producer and a player, global media director, Clay should never have to ask for a penny. Shouldn't have to.
That would be nice. I hate that. I don't like begging. I never stood on a street corner with a tin cup in my hand. I've always made my own way. I've produced a product, and I got a product today. It's called the Free American Magazine, and it's up online. You can get the April and May issues. You can get March, April, and May issues up there right now, $2.99. And I've given you the other 12 issues, 11 or 12 issues. I've given those to you for free, no charge. Just go there and read them. See how accurate I was. And when you get a chance to go back and read the books that I wrote 45 years ago, just see how accurate I was then.
And I want to speak to that, Clay, because Mr. Jones has decided that he does not want to sell individual magazines anymore. He wants a book to hand out. I say, Clay's giving 11 for free. Order the frickin' magazine. Do it. It's gonna hurt you. What's it gonna hurt you going and buying something that you don't need to impress people?
Madam, I decided to cut out all the middlemen. Now, after they tried to kill me, after they kept me drugged for 3 months, for 3 broken ribs, ran up a $750,000 hospital bill to break me, I stopped publishing the magazine. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get advertising because ADL was there on the phone. Oh, you're advertising with this son of a gun. Well, we're gonna tell all of our friends not to do business with you. And so I cut out all of the middlemen. I started publishing the Free American the same way. I took it to the printer. You can open it up right now. You buy it. You read it as a PDF. That's the way it went to the printer. You want it in hard copy, print it on your own printer. I stopped paying the Hearst for the paper. I stopped paying the DuPonts for the ink. I stopped paying the Rothschild for the gasoline to ship a ton of paper around the country.
Clay, I need to say something before we get off the phone, because what I've said about it, I need help. Anybody out there that has a passion for this, here's this. You need to learn about Tor, okay? It is a safe search website entails that once you're on searching, it keeps your identity safe, proxy services, and be careful researching. The only way this is going to work is we have a lot of people researching, and less people are on the inside, and they've got more access. So if you have a passion for this, just don't go out there, because I will give you disclaimers, because I'm responsible for what I'm disseminating. For tails, encryption, and proxies. On your phone as well, remember? It's out there. It's children, kids, they know it. Get educated, ask them. Download it and use it for safe search. Because some of these searches will record your IP address, okay? With NSA. Be very careful. But don't be afraid. Do it. The more people we have, the harder the drive is. The only thing that's going to get people up off of their couch and sleepy little communities is this subject. I believe in my heart. It's sacrificial, the constant sacrifices. And I'll say to you, Clay, I'm in hiding. I don't know how I'm going to eat. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I know what my mission is. As long as I don't play that game, I'll be fine.
Well, let me tell you, we've got about 3 minutes left. And if you go to freeamerican.com right now, top left, you'll see my letter. Probably the first thing that you'll see is my letter to the cannabis companies, the CEO of the cannabis companies, because I think that's the future of America right now. Cannabis, my friend Jack Hara, who I financed while he wrote, helped finance while he wrote Emperor Wears No Clothes. Jack said hemp can save the world, and I believe he was accurate on that. And
do we have about a minute?
What's that?
Do we have about a minute?
Yep, we've got 2 minutes, 51 seconds. And the, again, you can get the June issue of the Free American, and folks, it's very powerful. and we talk about the UFO and the conspiracy to keep you from understanding what it's about, what it is. It's all in the June issue. The May issue, we talk about the mafia, talk about Adelson, talk about the control of our gambling industry and how indictments are being brought against Adelson, so he may be the next one to run to that safe country called Israel. That's all in the May.
Can I read something I wrote?
Go ahead.
Okay. This writing would not be possible were it not for individuals I sought advice and gave my power. People who were more than willing to look at my uniqueness and point out what were to them brave character flaws from a subjective level. They which in my youth helped me feel humiliated, stereotyped, and unworthy were in fact the individuals which kept me on the continued path of self-discovery. Now dead, I reflected on those advice givers, the philanthropic skeletons left. As there were none I could see for the decades plus I listened, the ghosts of the past painted only a paradox of vanity and ego. Self-deprecating behavior on my part became a quest to, in a vain attempt, hopelessly change my character to fit in. These anomalous circles made the circumspect reflection an equation which seemed to me self-defeating and antiquated. In retrospect, I released the chains of the past and am free to finally be who I am, just Madam X. When the dead do not speak, only reflections of past unfulfilled conversations remain. Dust in the past as perennial as the grass, remains of remnants of past achievements, monuments of winners of war, the testament of those who refused to stay slaves. To succumb to the ego of another would be a tragedy. The caveat, the false accolades, these are the pins in which the pantheon of mediocrity meets the challenge of the human soul in essence. The pursuit of life, love, and happiness would be an idealistic goal if it had not in the past been achieved. Those great men, those great minds of not only men, but the secrets of great women that created empires, which forged alliances that allowed for this ideal to have once become reality. Written by Madam X.
Very good, dear. Very good. All right, we're out of time. God bless you all. FreeAmerican.com. Check it out. Pass it on.